Most people think being rich and being wealthy are the same thing. They use the words interchangeably. They chase one thinking it will give them the other. And that is the single biggest financial mistake most people make. Because rich and wealthy are not the same thing at all. They are two completely different financial states. And confusing them is why you can make a lot of money and still feel like you're running in place. Let me define the terms clearly because the definitions matter. Being rich is about income. It is about how much money flows into your bank account in a given period. A rich person has a high salary, or a successful business that generates significant revenue, or investments that pay out large sums. Being rich is a cash flow statement. It is about the top line. It is about what comes in. Being wealthy is about something entirely different. Being wealthy is about how long you can maintain your lifestyle without working for money. Wealth is measured in time, not in dollars. It is about the gap between what you have saved and what you spend. A wealthy person could stop working tomorrow and still live exactly the same life for years or decades or even the rest of their life. Wealth is a balance sheet. It is about what you keep, not what you earn. Here is why this distinction matters more than almost any financial concept you will ever learn. Society has conditioned us to chase rich. We are trained to pursue the high salary, the promotion, the bigger bonus, the successful business with impressive revenue numbers. We are told that these things are the goal, that when you achieve them, you have made it. But what nobody tells you is that you can be rich and broke at the same time. You can earn $300,000 a year and be one missed paycheck away from financial disaster. You can run a business that brings in $1 million in revenue and have no real wealth at all. I have watched this happen to people I know, friends who got the big promotion, who bought the nicer car, who moved into the bigger house, who looked from the outside like they had everything figured out, and then the job ended, or the business slowed down, or there was a medical emergency, and within months, the entire structure collapsed because they were rich in income but poor in wealth. They had optimized for the cash flow statement and neglected the balance sheet entirely. Now, let me show you the opposite. The person who makes $70,000 a year, who drives a reliable used car, who lives in a modest home, who saves consistently, who invests intelligently, who has built a portfolio that generates enough to cover their expenses indefinitely. That person is wealthy. That person has something that no salary can buy. That person has time. They have options, they have freedom, and from the outside, nobody would know because wealth is invisible. It does not show up in a car or a handbag or a vacation photo. It shows up in a spreadsheet, in a brokerage account, in a net worth statement that most people never see. Here's the part that changes everything. The path to rich and the path to wealthy are not the same path. In fact, they often go in opposite directions. The things that make you rich quickly are often the same things that keep you from becoming wealthy. A higher salary usually comes with higher spending. A successful business usually requires you to pour every dollar back into growth. A big investment win usually tempts you to chase the next one instead of locking in your gains. The very behaviors that maximize your income can destroy your ability to build wealth. Let me walk through the mechanism because understanding this is the key to getting off the hamster wheel. When your income goes up, your lifestyle almost always follows. It is natural. It is human. You feel like you have earned the upgrade, and in some ways, you have. But here's what happens below the surface. Your fixed expenses rise, your baseline spending rises, the gap between what you earn and what you need to live shrinks instead of growing. And that gap is the only thing that actually creates wealth. Wealth is built in the gap between your income and your expenses, the gap between what you earn and what you spend, the gap between your gross pay and your lifestyle. Every dollar that stays in that gap instead of flowing out into consumption is a dollar that can go to work building real wealth, a dollar that can be invested, a dollar that can generate returns, a dollar that can eventually replace the need for your labor entirely. The wealthy person understands this at a deep level. They do not see money as something to be spent. They see it as something to be deployed. Every dollar has a job, and that job is to eventually set them free. The rich person sees money as something to be enjoyed. And there is nothing wrong with enjoyment. But when enjoyment comes before freedom, you never actually get free. You just get a nicer cage. Here is a concrete example that makes this real. Take two women, both are 30 years old, both make $100,000 a year, both want to be financially independent by age 50. Woman A spends $85,000 a year. She lives well. She has a nice apartment in the city, a new car with a payment, regular dinners out at nice restaurants, and annual international vacations. She has the markers of success that society recognizes. She saves $15,000 a year. At a 7% return, she will have roughly $650,000 by age 50. That is a solid nest egg. But it generates about $26,000 a year in safe withdrawals. That is nowhere near enough to replace her $85,000 lifestyle. She has to keep working, probably for another 10 to 15 years, possibly forever. Woman B spends $55,000 a year. She lives comfortably, but below her means. She has a good apartment in a nice neighborhood, an older car that is paid off, and she still enjoys her life. She goes out with friends, she takes vacations. She just makes different choices about where her money goes. She saves $45,000 a year. At the same 7% return, she will have roughly $2 million by age 50. On a $55,000 annual spend, that portfolio generates about $80,000 a year in safe withdrawals. That is well more than enough to cover her expenses. She is financially independent. She can stop working at 50 if she chooses. She can take a lower paying job she actually enjoys. She can start a business without the pressure of needing immediate income. Same job, same salary, same starting point, different gap, completely different outcome. The difference between these two women is not how much they earn, it is how much they keep. And that is the entire game. Wealth is not determined by your income. It is determined by your savings rate. It is determined by the gap. It is determined by your ability to live below your means while your money works to replace your labor. Now, let me address something that comes up every time I talk about this. People hear live below your means and they think it means deprivation. They think it means eating rice and beans and never having any fun. That is not what I am saying at all. What I am saying is that you need to be intentional about which means you live below. If you earn $100,000 and you spend $110,000, you are in trouble. That is living above your means. If you earn $100,000 and you spend $100,000, you are breaking even. You are not building wealth. If you earn $100,000 and you spend $70,000, you are building wealth at a rate of $30,000 per year. That is the gap. And $30,000 per year, invested consistently over 20 years at a 7% return, grows to roughly $1.3 million. That is wealth. The goal is not to live a miserable life of deprivation. The goal is to push the gap as wide as you possibly can without feeling deprived, because every dollar in the gap is a dollar that is working to buy your freedom. And freedom is the only thing that actually makes money matter. Here is another layer that most people miss. The definitions of rich and wealthy are not just about money. They apply to how you use your most finite resource, which is time. A rich person sells their time for money. They trade hours for dollars. Even if they trade them at a very high rate, the fundamental equation is the same. Your time is limited. There are only so many hours in a day. So, there is a ceiling on how much money you can make by trading your time. A wealthy person has decoupled their income from their time. Their money works so they do not have to. Their investments generate income. Their assets produce cash flow. Their portfolio does the trading while they do the living. This is the real definition of wealth. It is not about having a lot of money. It is about not needing a lot of money because your expenses are low and your assets are high. It is about having the freedom to choose how you spend your time. It is about waking up every morning and knowing that you do not have to go to a job you hate. You do not have to tolerate a boss who disrespects you. You do not have to say yes to every opportunity because you need the paycheck. You can say no. And that ability to say no is the single most valuable thing that money can buy. So, how do you actually make the shift from chasing rich to building wealth? It starts with a fundamental reframe of how you think about money. You have to stop measuring your financial success by what comes in and start measuring it by what stays. You have to stop looking at your salary and start looking at your savings rate. You have to stop asking how much you can afford and start asking how much you can keep. The first step is to calculate your real gap. Take your after-tax income. Subtract your essential expenses. What is left is your gap. Most people never actually do this calculation. They have a vague sense of their finances, but no precise numbers. And you cannot optimize what you do not measure. So write it down. Your income, your expenses, your gap. If the gap is smaller than you want it to be, you have two levers. You can increase your income, or you can decrease your expenses. Most people focus only on the first lever. But the second lever is often more powerful and always more within your control. The second step is to automate the gap. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your investment account on the same day you get paid. Make it happen before you have a chance to spend it. Treat it like a bill you pay to your future self. If the money never hits your checking account, you never have the chance to spend it. And you will be surprised how quickly you adapt to living on less when you do not have a choice. The third step is to question every expense through the lens of the gap. Before you spend money, ask yourself a simple question. Is this purchase bringing me closer to freedom or pushing it further away? Some purchases are worth it. A vacation that creates real memories, a course that increases your earning potential, a tool that saves you time. These can be worthwhile investments. But most purchases are not that. Most purchases are just consumption. They provide a temporary dopamine hit, and then they are gone. And every dollar you spend on consumption is a dollar that could have been in the gap. Working for you, growing, building your freedom. The fourth step is to define what enough looks like for you. This is the hardest step because enough is different for everyone. But you need to figure it out. You need to know the number. How much do you need in your portfolio to cover your basic expenses indefinitely? For most people, it is roughly 25 times their annual spending. If you spend $40,000 a year, you need $1 million. If you spend $60,000 a year, you need $1.5 million. If you spend $100,000 a year, you need $2.5 million. Calculate your number. Write it down. Track your progress toward it. Because when you know the number, every dollar saved and invested has a clear purpose. Here is what nobody tells you about the gap. The gap does not just build wealth, it builds resilience. When you have a wide gap, you can handle surprises. You can lose your job and not panic. You can take a pay cut to do work you actually care about. You can say no to opportunities that do not align with your values. The gap is not just a financial buffer. It is an emotional buffer. It is what allows you to sleep at night when the economy is uncertain. It is what gives you the confidence to make decisions based on what is right for you, rather than what is safe for your bank account. I want to be real with you about something. Building wealth is slow. It is boring. It does not make for good social media content. Nobody is going to post a screenshot of their savings rate going up by 1%. Nobody gets excited about a consistent automatic transfer to a low-cost index fund. The financial content that goes viral is about the big win. The stock that doubled, the side hustle that took off, the real estate deal that paid out huge. But that is not how most wealthy people actually got wealthy. Most wealthy people got wealthy by doing the boring things consistently for a long time. They kept the gap wide. They invested the difference. And they waited. The rich person chases the exciting thing. The wealthy person does the boring thing. And the boring thing works every single time. Let me bring this together because it is the most important financial distinction you will ever understand. Being rich is a number in your bank account this month. Being wealthy is the number of months you can go without working. Being rich is about the car you drive. Being wealthy is about the freedom you have. Being rich is impressive to strangers. Being wealthy is invisible to everyone except you. And when you understand the difference, you stop optimizing for the wrong thing. You stop chasing promotions that come with lifestyle inflation. You stop comparing your income to other people. You stop measuring your financial success by what you earn and start measuring it by what you keep. The people who build real wealth are not the ones who make the most money. They are the ones who keep the most of what they make. They are the ones who understand that the gap is everything. And they are the ones who make the choice every single day to push the gap wider instead of closing it with consumption. You can start today. You do not need to earn more to start building wealth. You just need to keep more of what you already earn. Calculate your gap. Automate the gap. Protect the gap. And watch what happens over time. Because the gap is not just a number on a spreadsheet. It is the distance between where you are and where you want to be. And the only thing standing between you and financial freedom is how wide you are willing to let that gap grow. Stay consistent, and I will see you in the next one.